Hello and welcome to Panzer Painting. Today we are going to paint this M36 Jackson tank destroyer. Here you got a chart of the different materials I have used for this project. We first start by applying two thin layers of dark grey to the whole tank, letting the first layer dry before applying the second layer. After we have painted the whole tank dark grey, we'll make some pre-highlights in order to get a more saturated look in the end. We are aiming for the upper and most exposed parts, where light would hit the first or be the brightest. When our priming have dried, we can start by applying the first color. Here I'm going to use olive drab dark base, and I'm aiming for the lower and darker parts of the tank, as well as in between the bogies. Remember to give it a few thin coats rather than one thick one. After the first color have dried properly, we are going to apply olive drab base to all the parts we didn't paint in the previous step. In short, this is going to be our base color, and we are going to add highlights to this later. We're aiming for half of the side of the hull and turret, the bogies, as well as in the front, rear and around the air intake. You can use an old plastic card, masking tape or something else when you want to avoid painting certain places. We'll apply the first highlight with olive drab light base. We're aiming for 1/3 of the upper parts of the hull and turret, the bogies, as well as around the air intake. And last but not least, we're going to give the whole tank its final highlight of olive drab highlight. We'll apply this to the very top of the hull and turret, the bogies, and all the other raised and exposed parts of the tank, such as fuel caps, headlights, periscopes, and so on. Now that we are done with the color modulation and everything is properly dry, we are going to cover the tank with a gloss varnish. It does a few things for us. It prevents silvering from decals, and it's also going to help us with pin washing, where we are relying on the capillary reaction. Here I forgot to add the decals to the tank before applying the pin wash. It isn't too much of an issue really. Anyway, cut the decal you like and soak them in some warm water for a few minutes. Apply some decal set where you like the decal to be. Put the decal on and wipe off any excess water before applying decal fix. Decal fix will soften the decal, making it conform to the extrusions underneath while making it stick. We can now start to pin wash our tank. You can use the enamel wash straight from the jar, but here we'll mix a bit of enamel thinner with the enamel wash. This will make it flow better, at least in my experience. Use a pointy brush, but not your favorite one, of course. This isn't the best treatment you can give your beloved brushes. We apply this to all the nooks and crannies, and this is going to make all the different details pop much more. After about 20 to 30 minutes, the enamel wash is dry enough for us to remove the excess. We're going to use an old brush, cotton bud and some enamel thinner. Dip the cotton bud in some thinner and wipe off most of it in a piece of paper. Then clean the tank. You can also use the brush in places you can't reach with the cotton bud, but be gentle. If you're rubbing too hard or wiping the same place too many times, you'll ruin the paint job underneath. The gloss varnish can only protect so much. For edge highlighting, we are going to use a wide flat brush to dry brush all the sharp edges. I usually use the side of the brush and let it run along the edges I want highlighted. Remember to run it along the boogies and wheels just to make them pop more. Now for some wear and tear. This is a two-stage process. For this you can use a piece of sponge or a brush. First we will apply the small scratches with a light green color to the area that would receive wear and tear from daily use and maintenance. When we got that down, we can make the deeper scratches with a dark brown color. Apply these to the areas that you hit in the first step, but not as heavy. If you are up for it, you can also use a brush to make lines along the hull and turret. So at this stage we can start to paint the road wheels, tools, ammo boxes and all the other equipment the tank might carry. It is pretty straightforward, and when you're done we'll highlight the wooden parts with old wood. Furthermore, we'll mix some grey and white for the tracks, the metal tools and the pindle mounted 50 cal. It is now time for some weathering. We'll add 2 salts, one for crime and one for rain. When you have added enough to your liking, let it dry for about 20 minutes before you start blending it. Use a flat brush and some enamel thinner to blend the streaks in a downward motion. Redo the step if you want it to be heavier. Now for the messy part of this project, adding mud and dirt. First make some VMS brown earth and pigment binder till you get a wet paste. Add it in between the boogies and underneath the tank if you like. Let it dry before adding the dark earth pigment to the tracks and other surfaces that will receive dirt. When you have done a small portion of the dark earth, use some pigment fixer to secure it. Redo this step by step. When you're done with that, we can add some splatter. There are many ways to do this, but I'm using an old toothbrush. Simply mix some pigment and thinner, dip the toothbrush and flick it off with your finger or a toothpick. If you like, you can add some fuel and oil spills. It works much like paint, but shouldn't be thinned down. Just add it where you like it to be and you're done. It's that easy. Now for the last step. I use AK's Ultra Matte Varnish as it really does what it says it does. However, give it a few light mists, don't let it pool anywhere. Otherwise you'll end up with a very undesirable pale area. So be patient, don't rush this final step. So that concludes how to paint the M36 Jackson tank destroyer. You could of course use these techniques on other US vehicles as well. If you like this painting tutorial, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you again next time. So long.